I guess
That's the way I like it. That makes me rumble. Don't we rumble?
Float like a butterfly and sting like a bee.
Ah, rumble, young man, rumble. Hey, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna rumble.
This week on Fight Stuff.
Bear spray wielding Canadians attempt to rob a dispensary only to have their hopes dashed by a 3-foot bong. The Golden Snitch finally catches up to TJ for an EPO violation and a 2-year ban. And we finish out our Marshall Madness bracket to find out who would really bring home the gold in our version of a VHS kumite.
Just a regular day at the dispensary at the bong shop. I believe this is in Canada. A little chihuahua.
Oh, look at that. Little cute little dog.
Yeah,
Like
like
it's a teacup size. It's kind of hopping around like a bunny. But again, no big deal. Just hanging out at the dispensary. Gonna sell some weed.
Oh! Thieves approaching the store. Just spraying bear spray
thieves.
all over the place. Oh, but here comes the bong-wielding store owner.
Yeah, when in doubt, pick up a 3-foot glass bong.
Oh! So, yeah. Oh, damn. He fucking takes a swing with that bong. Call the police now.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
It's beautiful. I also want to share a second angle of that fight, which I think has a crucial little detail. After they spray all the bear spray and everything, it shows behind the counter, and that little chihuahua just runs and hides.
I think it was definitely the sound of the bong breaking that all of a sudden
breaking
scared.
on the door.
Don't worry about all the bear spray floating around and like making it tough to breathe and see.
It's like a cartoon trained dog. You see it like hop up in this little bin and struggle and still make it in there.
It's just Pixar movie worthy.
Just goes to its safe space.
Yeah.
All right. So here's my thing that I fucking love about this video is it illustrates the #1 rule of unarmed combat.
What's
Arm
that?
yourself.
Arm yourself. The first rule of unarmed self-defense is arm yourself. And this guy does an amazing job of that.
It's also extremely Canadian and extremely stoner to like be like guys, let's just go rob the dispensary.
Yeah, well, of course, man. They always have cash on them. What's the big deal?
And just being like, I got this bear spray, and we're going there with masks. They won't know who we are.
Yeah, we'll cover ourselves up with hoodies, eh?
We'll just spray them. We'll spray them down with the bear spray, and
they'll be so scared because there's 3 of us, eh?
Because it's Canada. Nobody does any kinds of crimes out here very much.
Yeah, of course, eh?
And then you're gonna just, But what of course happens is Canadians are hardy people.
Yes.
And the store owner is like, no, thank you. Grabs the first thing at hand. Looks like a 3-foot long bong.
3-foot long glass bong is a great weapon. We've always talked about it. What's the greatest weapon of all time? 3-foot stick.
Yeah,
like
pretty much. I mean, if this doesn't end up being a Seth Rogen movie within 2 years, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably like, damn it, I wish I had wrote that. Like,
this has to be optioned. I mean, even the way that he comes out like with the bong and like baseball bat back position, but not really swinging it.
And he's like, what are you going to do, eh?
What are you going to do? It's like, it feels like a Seth Rogen fight scene. It's incredible.
It definitely does. And then when the guy throws what I can only assume is his bag at him, like...
No, it looks like a recycling bin. He picks up this blue recycling bin, tosses it, it bounces off the guy's hand because it's just a blue plastic like recycling. It's like a waste paper basket.
Yeah.
It's amusing. Anyway, that's like a very cheery fight clip.
Well, I think we needed to break format a little bit. This is a great clip, by the way. But we needed to break the head trauma inducing like videos of the past.
Like, this one gets you real far away from like a head bouncing off concrete, which is
and there were plenty of plenty of other videos that could have made the list, but I think it was just kind of dark for us. We were like, let's go with something a little bit more comedic and a little bit lighter.
There's definitely no shortage of skull on the cul-de-sac concrete videos out there.
Oh, that 2-on-1 video!
That's definitely a genre.
Oh, yeah, the cul-de-sac fight video,
cracking your head in the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Anyway, welcome to Fight Stuff. As usual, I'm Jarrett.
I'm Zeke.
We're gonna move on to sports this week in sports. So this week, preamble. I guess we should just mention. Well, basically, we're gonna talk about 2 things. One's TJ Dillashaw getting popped,
which just happened about an hour ago. of this recording.
Yeah, there was an announcement like a week or so ago that said like he was a test came back unusual.
Right.
But we didn't have any confirmation. Today, officially, they announced that USADA's banned him for 2 years.
Yeah, they popped him for EPO.
Yeah.
EPO is usually used in like endurance sports or sports that require a high amount of stamina or endurance. And fighting, even though it could be as long as 25-minute round. I'm sorry, 25 minutes, 5-minute rounds for his championship bouts. That's still a long time because TJ is known for pushing the pace in his fights. He's a super active fighter, and then much less he was fighting at 125 against Henry Cejudo.
Yeah, which he still lost. It's like it's kind of an insult to injury. It's like you did the drugs, then also
right.
EPO is recombinant human erythropoietin. It's a peptide hormone used to stimulate red blood cell production. It is typically administered via intravenous injection, which was a big part of this. Jeff Nowitzki, who's he's the vice president of athlete health and performance
at the UFC.
UFC.
The Golden Snitch, as he's commonly referred to as.
He said, I'm quite familiar with EPO from my days investigating professional cycling teams. It's a very effective substance. It's not a substance you find in contaminated supplements. It's injectable only.
Yeah. So there's no way that it was like I accidentally had some tainted meat.
Right. Well, that's become the popular,
supplements.
the John Jones, the dick pills joke.
Oh, the gas station dick pills was probably one of my more favorite excuses.
I don't think, what's interesting, what it does for me is makes me want to take more supplements.
What, gas station dick pills or EPO?
You realize most of the supplements at like GNC and stuff even, some of them are just like harmless vitamins or whatever, but a lot of supplements, like Kratom is an interesting example of like, Kratom Kratom? It's Thai, I guess. So it's, I think, more pronounced like Kratom, but doesn't matter.
Sure.
Kratom, this opioid replacement kind of thing that a lot of people really love because they say it got them off of opiate pills. But there's a lot of other studies about people. The way I think about it now, and I think I've got to do more deep dives, it's really hard to distinguish like agendas. It obviously, if there is a fairly harmless opioid replacement
that is like natural and relatively cheap,
yes, that would threaten pharmaceutical companies a lot, and those are the people who tend to like have, whatever, not to get too conspiracy theory about it. My feeling about Kratom has softened from like it's totally harmless to like, well, I mean, ibuprofen's not harmless. It's actually quite bad for you if you take it a lot. And any medication should be like considered as, a medication. So based on some of the reports, it's like, don't take too much of anything, basically. The Kratom is like, just consider it like a drug, like other drugs.
Yeah. No, I mean, like from what people have described to me, it definitely has like opiate-like effects.
It's awesome. I mean, I think it's fucking awesome. There's like one particular strain I've used that like, I feel like it's like Adderall, like, but better. Like
really?
In a weird, it's euphoric, but it makes me like really excited about the ideas I'm having and like helps me like focus and do work. And I took it because of like pain, like things that I had from jiu-jitsu, and because I've been avoiding ibuprofen and stuff like that. But anyway, so it is something to be like, just be aware. Don't like get used to taking anything too much. But that was a sidebar about just like supplements these days and in general are really just unregulated new things a lot of the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so some of the stuff ends up getting banned. There's like legendarily Jacked, this pre-workout supplement, Jack 3D.
Yeah. I remember Jacked.
Yeah, dude, that shit was good. And it ended up getting banned because it killed some guys because it was a really good pre-workout and it had this like, it was called like 1-3 some long scientific name.
Basically had some methamphetamine in it.
The good shit.
Yeah, exactly. The good shit.
And it would, and it worked, but a couple bodybuilders like died. I think their hearts just, were overworked.
Oh, was that because they were using like I seem to remember, was it like straight up ephedra? Like
maybe that, because that was a whole nother thing. But there's like that exists, and this other thing about the dick pills, the gas station dick pills, and sometimes other supplements from not necessarily as reputable companies or something like that. Sometimes those labs elsewhere in the world where they make that stuff, they also make steroids, because steroids are often legally made things. There are legal uses for them and blah, blah, blah. So they're made in like legit labs sometimes.
Yeah.
But sometimes those same labs mix up other things that are legal. And so like those vats can get tainted. And that's where the thing of they saying like sometimes somebody might get popped who didn't intend to.
Where they talk about tainted supplements, that's usually what ends up happening. But part of that corollary too, though, is that they will track down the lot number. They're like, oh, really? You took some tainted supplements? Do you still have the package? What time was it? Like, and they'll track down the lot number and they'll find a way to test it.
Yeah.
If that is, in fact, the case.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
And a couple guys have been exonerated in the UFC, but still had like a 6-month ban on them.
Yeah.
Which I find insane.
I'm just saying, as
this is not that case.
No, I'm just saying, as someone who steroids sound cool to, but don't want to go out of my way to do it. Maybe I could just do more supplements, and there'd be some you just get lucky. You get some
you
cool
might just
batches, and you suddenly jiu-jitsu is really easy for a month. And
sure,
you're like,
or
fuck.
you should totally destroy your endocrine system for getting a little bit stronger.
Yeah, sounds sick. It sounds good to me.
But so, yeah, that's the big news as of today.
I mean, I don't know. I think 2 years is a long time to get
in the fight game, it's
knocked out of fighting.
Absolutely.
I
now,
mean,
here's what's
no
going to
pun
happen.
intended.
Even though he's going to officially get this ban, and let's just say he definitely did it.
I mean, Cody Garbrandt famously was like, after was like ex-teammate, but who's like, oh yeah, TJ's on everything, which this article, which mentions that also, is very, very humorously adds to the end of that, how Dillashaw went on to knock out Garbrandt 2 times.
Sure. Now, of course, internet culture has already memed that 1,000 times in the last hour, where everyone was like, Cody was right. And he was.
He's wrong. I mean, I heard somebody say a while ago about, I'm personally, steroids, I don't think like steroids are cheating. I just don't. I just think it's like a silly, I don't know. On the one hand, yes, it would be nice to live in a society of like rules that we all follow, but it kind of feels like, I don't know, like the wrestler Eddie Guerrero, cheat to win, There's a feeling to me, if you're like a professional athlete, it's almost like war, like all is fair in love and war. This idea that like, it's like if you're not cheating, you don't want it bad enough. You're not a professional.
Yeah, of course.
It's like if you really... Which sucks. I'd love the idea that like, no, we're just seeing what people can do. But I also think like you are seeing what people can do. If people can dial in their fucking diet and legal supplements and all this stuff and their training and optimize it.
I mean, you could say the same thing about like weight cutting. Is weight cutting technically illegal?
Right.
Is it? I mean, technically it's legal, but people are cheating the system.
Yeah, completely.
That wasn't the point of the weight system in general.
Yeah, I always feel like there's the rules and then there's the meta game of how do you get around the rules.
How do you use the rules to your advantage?
Yeah, and how do you cheat the rules, frankly? Like that I accept. I think we all accept. I feel like the financial institutions are that way too. It's like,
absolutely.
Yes, we make the rules, but then the real game is like, how do you
know the rules and get around them?
Yeah. And I guess I don't blame people. I mean, we're raised just to win by all costs. And if you find a creative solution that's legal but unethical, people tend to just like pat you on the head and be like, damn, that was a good move.
Listen, you look at Major League Baseball,
exactly.
Especially in the steroid era, but especially the home run chase of, 99, 2000 with Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa.
Yeah.
Everyone knew that they were juiced out of their minds.
I mean, what's going to happen if we don't just start legalizing drugs is like, in their use in the future, you're going to get this weird dystopian future where like billionaires and whatever are just gods who like walk around with these like enhancements that they're not allowed in sports. And so you'll watch sports, but then some person who's just a hobbyist who's like injected themselves with nanobots or whatever will be like, oh, I can do that. Everybody can do that. Like that's so quaint that people still do that.
Oh, you're hitting a fastball.
Yeah.
400 feet.
Yeah. And I just want to add like this drug that basically what it does, it says is it, increases your red blood cell production and flow, which helps obviously oxygenate your muscles. So it'll be repairing your muscles, but also just like endurance, keeping energy coming to your muscles and oxygen coming to muscles. Like it doesn't do the work for you. It just allows you to do more work.
It allows you to do more work. And that's the other thing about steroids that people think you inject
and now you're Superman. Yeah.
And now you magically have muscles.
Right. No. You have to fucking do hard, shitty work. And I think it's unfair to take away from these athletes who are pushing every advantage they can to get to the highest plane that they can. Like, they still have to do the hard work. You can't just inject it and then,
be like,
play video games.
Go gadget muscles.
Right.
No, I mean, you still have to do hard, shitty work.
I think the only reason the only like true anti-steroids argument that I see for fight sports specifically and football is that there's violence involved and another person's nervous system. So,
Right.
Giving people superhuman strength when their brains are still just human brains that don't have superhuman shock absorbers.
Yeah.
I think that's where it's really dangerous. And so like that is a very good argument against steroids, at least in sports that involve violent contact between human bodies.
Sure.
But like personally, like I would love to see weightlifting where drugs were just legal.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Here's
Have you
my
been
only...
off the whole time?
No.
That'd be so funny.
I mean, the only thing that I will throw out there is that youth development, specifically in sports, has gotten younger and younger.
Yeah, that's true.
And the problem is if you start allowing this to happen, you're going to see 14-year-olds, 11-year-olds, and like, you look at the Todd Marinoviches of the world. Do you remember or know Todd Marinovich? Mm-mm. He was raised by his father to be the greatest football athlete of all time.
Okay.
And it was almost like if you take all these stereotypes of like a Russian parent, but except raise them in Southern California.
Sure.
And he's just like, you were going to be the greatest ever. And like every day he would be practicing, and everything he did for his son and in his son's life was about serving the purpose of being the greatest.
Got it.
Football player, but specifically quarterback in the history of quarterbacks. And he got to a certain point, but then his mind exploded. But like the whole point was he got to where he wanted to go.
What do you mean his mind exploded? Like, what do you mean?
Oh, like, I'd have to fact check it. But like from what I saw on the ESPN 30 for 30, Todd Marinovich ended up being a hardcore drug addict and alcoholic. Sure. His life just he couldn't
Did that start with an injury? What happened? Was he actually like assigned to teams or something?
Yeah. So he was a big to-do at USC. Then from there, it was just like his mind and his ability to like, once he got to the NFL, was just like a downward
He did
spiral.
Get to the NFL.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, to me, are you saying that like take that and then add more drugs to it, which would happen?
Yeah, where it's like, take that parent who was like, I'm going to be an insane person. I'm going to help you get to wherever you're trying to go, whether it's a stage parent or a football parent or whatever it is. But then add the availability and the tacit approval that it's like, listen, I know this isn't good for you, but...
Yeah, but he's already doing that.
Right.
I'm saying like it didn't matter. It doesn't... Like he already destroyed his kid even without drugs.
Sure.
And it's like, you're going to destroy a kid if you do that.
But he was the exception, not the rule. But... Yeah. My friends who have kids who
there's
are
already
actively
teenagers taking creatine and shit like all the time.
Sure. I mean, but creatine, okay. But like at a certain point, if they're doing anabolics and like, I don't know. I just feel like I hate the slippery slope argument, but I also know how kids and their parents and this like chasing this dream that is so far like removed from reality of you're going to get a scholarship to go to college to play the sport and you're going to go turn pro, and that go ahead, destroy your body just a little bit. It's like in baseball, they at Little League when I played, they were like, hey, 10-year-olds, you're not allowed to throw a curveball. And everyone's like, what? How dare you? I'm a pitcher. I'm trying to do whatever.
It's bad for your shoulder.
Because your elbow gets destroyed and it leads to Tommy John surgery way too early in life.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if somebody doesn't put some sort of governor on child development who are trying to get to the upper echelon of sports.
Well, I agree with that. I still don't think I don't think it should be legal for children. I get what you're saying. You think just tacit approval. But to me, that would be like this curveball. Like those kids are going to throw curveballs on their spare time.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's just one of those things that like you're just sort of like nodding and winking, because guess what? If you're a kid coming up through the system, through the club system, through the university system, and you're not jacked as fuck and on drugs or have the endurance like another kid who's doing EPO, like you're not even going to get a shot.
Well, side note to that is our other sports thing, because this is the thing is like, the argument about all of that is just like, well, sports are going to keep devolving or evolving back to gladiatorial shit anyway, or something probably. Sure. Like we'll see some fucked up shit. And the other fight sports thing we're going to talk about was this bare knuckle fighting championship thing that happened
this past weekend.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Artem Lobov fought Jason Knight in a fucking crazy 5 rounds to a decision. And bare knuckle fighting, so it's just boxing. But
bare knuckle boxing,
gloves.
no gloves whatsoever, no hand protection. You do have wrist wraps.
You have wrist wraps,
but not covering the knuckles.
And granted, MMA gloves are only 4 ounces, but still, it's a bit of a glove. And so we really get to see the thing that struck me was really getting to see the difference. Like, bare knuckle fighting is becoming more popular. Mm-hmm. It's going to only keep growing.
Now, keep in mind, this was only licensed in Biloxi, Mississippi.
Yeah, they're going
right?
to the most random fucking states that
yeah, because no one else would do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, so to me, the argument against or for it is, and I'm kind of for it ultimately. I'm like, yeah, of course this should be legal, is the same argument that I felt that I make all the time about MMA versus boxing, which is boxing allows you these knockdowns, these like 8 or 9, 10 seconds to get back up after you've taken enough head trauma to knock you out. Plus, the gloves are really there more to protect your hands.
More than anything else.
They allow you to hit harder, but they also, which increases concussive force, but also they do seem to take a little of that pop out that would create that absolutely like ultimately a knock you out concussion. So you add in this ability to throw harder, this slight damper that reduces actual KOs, and then also add in the knockdown rule, and you're basically subjecting people, even though they think MMA looks more violent with kicks and knees and elbows, you're subjecting people potentially and probably to a lot more head trauma. In boxing, like sustained concussions, the ability to get that one first flash knockout, but then add concussion to it, which is really where the killer comes for CTE, is that like secondary concussion.
Right.
So to me, the argument that, you know, bare knuckle boxing, if it brings more damage, quicker knockouts, that potentially that this would be better. Counter to that, as we see with this fight, which was a fucking barn burner, you do still have the knockdown rule. So like you still get a chance to get back up if you get the flash knockdown. So that's just as bad. It's not like MMA where you can chase them to the ground, submit them, or they have to stop you so it doesn't get real bad, so it's over quicker.
Yeah.
They still give you the knockdown rule. And on top of that, I think you, instead of the padding preventing you from hitting as hard, it's just the fact that you're punching bones. So you're not punching as hard.
Sure.
And then third, I will say last thing before I shut the fuck up is cuts. Damn, do you get cut up so much more. Those faces, I mean, when you talk about like movie boxing faces, these people just deform their faces from boxing, they are fucked up.
I couldn't believe, so I didn't see the fight until much later, but I believe I saw Artem's Instagram post a day after, and he looked like he got hit by a truck.
Oh yeah,
after everything swelled shut and all of the damage he took,
and looked less fucked up than the other guy.
Right. So a couple things to what you were saying.
Yeah.
One of the things I like about potentially bare knuckle fighting is that if you've ever had the opportunity to hit even a heavy bag, with a closed fist, but no protection for your wrists or knuckles, anything like that,
right?
It will slow you down because it stings and it hurts. So
you'll find out real quick if your wrists are conditioned enough to take it.
Literally, I was talking to a client yesterday about conditioning. About like, hey, there's a lot of small bones in your hands and they can break easily. If your wrists aren't conditioned, if your hands aren't conditioned and accustomed to taking this sort of damage, you are going to hurt yourself throwing a punch. So that's one of the limiting factors.
Especially if you put your body behind that punch.
Right.
Because like talking about actually putting all your weight onto those little baby bones in your wrist and your hands, if you're not used to it, without wraps, without gloves, you can't, it's hard to do with wraps and gloves.
I swear, like I've made my knuckles bloody from just hitting a heavy bag, no gloves.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh yeah, like this is still a human experience.
I've gotten little stinger feelings in my wrist and my elbows, just normal bag when you haven't done it for a while and you get back on, you're like, oh dang, you know?
Yeah. Everything has to be conditioned.
Yeah.
So like I would feel like that would be the limiting factor as far as bare knuckle boxing being like, you can't throw nearly as hard as you can. Again, like you said, compared to MMA, because it's like those gloves protect you from cuts, and of course are meant only to protect your hands.
Right.
Like that's the whole thing.
Yeah. I also, the bare knuckle thing, I think it's interesting to see how boxing truly changes. I mean, people talk about that in like traditional martial arts styles all the time. They'll be like, you got those big fucking gloves on, it's different. And yeah, it is. It's not different enough to tell you that, to believe your kung fu teacher when they're like, oh, this shit's better than fucking boxing all the time. But it's really cool to see guys who are used to fighting with gloves doing this bare knuckle thing and seeing, I don't know, it makes me think of like when MMA starts up and all the boxers are like, look at these sloppy fighters, blah, blah, blah. When they're like, no, it's a totally different game. Hands can slip through in different weird ways. They don't create these these like shields to do like Philly shell or even just cover up and turtle up. Like you don't have that as easily or as well. And also there's something about the way gloves disperse impact that makes you get these more like square hits and then come back. With your bare fists, you're like sliding off cheekbones and, you know, careening off at weird angles. It really changes. It looks like nuts.
So defensive boxing becomes pretty much impossible
Very
with
different.
the sport. And you can see it in this fight as well. It is almost 100% offense with very minimal checking and parrying because, like you said, you don't have these giant pillows that prevent you from slipping through. Like if you ever boxed, like, and someone decides to check or parry, it doesn't take much for you to not connect on a punch.
Right.
But when you have no gloves and slippery human bodies, like unless there is a great, you know, the person you're fighting has great head movement, your ability to connect is just going to multiply.
Yeah. Which is where you're seeing that head movement stuff come in really more intensely too, and seeing how these guys, when they're in the pocket and just exchanging, I don't know, it's kind of neat to see something so pure. And on that same note, it was really dope to see, like, I think there was some like spicy words exchange leading up to this fight, which is whatever, that's part of the fight game these days. But it was like kind of cool to see in those later rounds these guys like really doing that like honor your opponent thing of like shaking hands. Like they
literally hugged, and I want to say they bowed before the fifth round.
Yeah, and it's like dope to see these two guys be like, yeah, we're really fucking making something out of this one.
And they sick. Were, man. Like at times it was tough for me to watch. Like I'm not gonna lie, because there was like so much blood, so much spraying, and again,
guy lost his fucking tooth.
Lost his tooth. There were so many knockdowns. You know, both guys got dropped multiple times.
Sometimes they were these weird like slip downs too. Like they'd like slip and they'd call it a knockdown, and right in the first round.
Right in the first round where they ruled it a slip, where clearly he got knocked down, and there was just so much of it that I was like, okay, well, it's only 2-minute rounds. Okay, I feel better about that versus 3 or 5 minute rounds. But still, these guys went to war. And they both had zero quit in them.
Punched each other in a fucking hamburger too. I mean, it's like wild. That's like such commitment to your thing. You're like, that's what you. I mean, talk about cauliflower ear. You know what I mean? Like you're like, no, that's what you do now. That guy, that's your whole life. That's what you do. That's what you look like. They're busted up.
Yeah,
it's impressive.
Yeah, and especially since we saw Chris Lieben, UFC vet Chris Lieben, beat somebody in 30 seconds in either the one that happened last week or 2 weeks ago. It could have been the same card, but it was like 30 seconds of work for Chris Lieben, where it was like, all right, catch him with a switch left hook, and pretty much after that it was academic. Versus you see these guys that do not stop, and it was just incredible. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if I like this or if I would tune into the sport.
I mean, I will. I just will. It's not Letway either, which is something else. I don't know. I just found out about recently Letway, which is like Muay Thai, but like on drugs. It's Muay Thai, which is, you know, the art of the 8 limbs or something. 8 elbows, knees, 8 limbs. It's like it's basically Muay Thai, but with no gloves and headbutts added in. Just insane from Burma. Whew.
Yeah, anyway. Southeast Asia knows how to create a fight sport.
Speaking of real badasses, let's move to fake fucking badasses, which is we're going to do the second part of our brackets this week.
If you enjoyed last week's show, which was admittedly a little all over the place, but even with some creative editing, we found a way to create a bracketology, if you will.
So I think we'll just dive right into it. If you were listening last week,
why don't we list off 1 through 16 just to reacquaint everybody?
We'll start at the top of the seed, our number 1 seed, down to our bottom of our top 16 movie badasses. And you know, it's in a sort of vein of VHS style 90s and 80s hand-to-hand fighting experts. Red Sonja, Indiana Jones,
Martin Riggs, Kwai
Kwai Kane.
Of course.
How dare you?
Of course.
From Kung Fu, The Legend Continues. Raphael from the Ninja Turtles.
Ivan Drago, Rocky Balboa.
Chuck Norris. As Chuck Norris in Sidekicks, where Chuck Norris plays Chuck Norris, okay? It's not an accident.
Yeah. And then there's Sue, a.k.a. Jet Li.
From Cradle to the Grave.
With DMX.
What? Detective Inspector Yang Nang Lee, which is Jackie Chan in Rush Hour.
Dalton.
Classic.
From Roadhouse. I almost want to listen to that trailer
I know,
again.
just over and over again. Casey Ryback, which is how Steven Seagal is going to show up on this list. From Under Siege, we agreed the cook Casey Ryback was the best expression of Seagal.
I'm just the cook.
Frank Martin from The Transporter. Jason Statham needed to enter on this list somewhere, and he got in pretty high.
He did, as did Blade.
Who is, I think, the quintessential kicky, boxy, fighty version, martial artsing of Wesley Snipes. Just his best version.
I think it's his best coked out version. Yes.
JCVD comes in at number 2.
Frank Dux.
That's right.
Frank Dux from
Bloodsport.
Thank you.
Kumite. And then finally, number 1, which I still stand by, is Neo.
Yep.
Because fucking Keanu, dude.
Fucking Keanu is right.
Keanu's the best. I just watched like 20-minute video that's gone around the internet making the rounds of him training for John Wick 3. And just like, it's just a video of him with some ex-Navy SEAL guy showing him like door entries.
Yeah.
And just uncut 20 minutes of him receiving instruction and like calmly, like
taking
politely,
it in.
respectfully taking it in, doing the things, asking questions. Everybody in the comments especially responded to like, they're using a real rifle, but there's no ammo and the bolts removed and everything like that, just to get used to, I think, what his actual prop's going to be.
Sure.
And the Navy SEAL, like, he puts it in his hands and he's like, you know, having Keanu do the moves and stuff, but he's like standing in front of the, and he's like, and Keanu's like, oh, it just feels really weird to point a gun at you. Okay. He's like, you know, and everyone in the comments is like, love that. Wow. It's amazing to hear him really like internalize. That means they have really good safety practices. It's cute.
That's great.
But whatever.
I love
Keanu.
what the internet sort of like.
There's like no bad stories about Keanu.
Yeah.
There's like actually like a whole subreddit about like good stories. Like he's apparently just the greatest guy.
He is, who's suffered a rather tragic life.
I know.
You know, maybe we should do a deep dive on Keanu Reeves.
Keanu. I'm so into it.
All right, back to the tournament.
Brackets. Okay, so because of our seeding, our first fight of the tournament will be our number 1 seed and our bottom seed. Neo versus Red Sonja. How do you think this goes, Zeke?
Well, you know, I'd like to say that this isn't a complete bloodbath.
It's a complete bloodbath.
But it's a literal complete bloodbath. Red Sonja was kind of a courtesy pick. We wanted Red Sonja in there for maybe nostalgia reasons.
Right. She's just super badass. She fits the whole vibe so well. Technically, she's more of a swordswoman.
Right.
She's a sword master.
Even if she was there with a sword,
which, you know what? We're going to let her have a sword for this because Neo, I think, is a nice guy. Here's how I think this goes.
Hey, Jarrett, how do you think this goes?
They square off. Red Sonja gets her sword. She's like, really? And he's like, yeah, let's have a nice fight. She swings at him for a while he just kind of Neos around and maybe blocks the blade. He probably stands on the blade like, you know, Pei Mei and Kill Bill, all this stuff. And eventually, I think he just goes like, okay, I'm sorry. And I think since he knows jujitsu.
Yeah.
Jujitsu? I'm going to learn jujitsu.
Jujitsu?
And I think he just takes the back, puts her to sleep. I think he takes the sword away at some point, being Neo, some fancy disarm.
Sure.
And then just Maraleao. That's a wrap.
I would. The only thing I would throw on top of that is that I think he would just let her tire herself out. Red Sonja is not in the worst shape, but she's not in the best shape, and that sword is heavy.
Yeah.
And as he's Neoing around, dude, have you ever thrown around a sword?
It would be very tiring.
Very tiring.
And as we've seen him in the second one, I believe, where he's fighting those ghost twins who have razor blades.
Yes.
He's good at dodging blades.
Oh, yeah. He has a proof of concept for his blade dodging ability.
He can dodge bullets. I think he's going to be fine dodging blades.
So, yeah, I think he essentially rope-a-dopes her and then puts her to sleep via rear naked choke.
Going to be our first round down.
See you later, Red Sonja.
Adios. Single elimination in this tournament. I'm going to actually say there's a winner. There you go. All right. Second fight of the night is going to be Sue and Chuck Norris. These are our 8th and 9th seeds.
Yes.
This is our closest seeding of the tournament.
This would be a very tough fight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, so let's just take a moment. How do you think this goes? Sue, of course, Jet Li from Cradle to the Grave, which I felt like was the best version of Jet Li. He just does so much, very similar to our Neo vibes. He's very good at like kind of leaving his hands down, seeing what somebody does, making one little move to get out of the way.
You know, I think we didn't do ourselves any favors by having two kicking experts going against each other in this fight.
But it makes it very exciting.
It definitely does, because Sue, who uses his feet like arms, presents a lot of challenges. He can jab, he can throw a cross.
That's right.
He can even throw a hook kick.
Yeah. Chuck Norris embodies a lot of classic capabilities, though. Sure. He's got a rough, old-style karate.
Yep.
And I think he's got size on Jet Li for sure.
Oh, definitely. At a
not a ton. He's only like 5'10", I think.
Yeah, but Jet Li's probably a very, very generous 5'6", meaning he's 5'3", I think.
Yeah, he's
in real life.
And light.
Yeah. So, I mean, and he's very light. You're right. There's also going to be a size advantage. So I think if we're going power versus speed, I would say a couple sidekicks from Chuck Norris in sidekicks, and we have a winner. What do you think?
You think Chuck Norris?
I think Chuck Norris.
Man, this is tough for me.
Yeah.
I think...
Convince me otherwise.
I don't know. I mean, I think Jet Li's whole style is a little bit about like tiring out another opponent. And I don't think Chuck Norris...
kind of a Neo vibe. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think Chuck Norris has a lot of tricks up his sleeve.
It's true.
You know? I think if Chuck Norris connects on one of those spinning back kicks that's very Chuck Norris, then you have a chance, but that's kind of it. I don't think either of them have a ton of grappling ability. I think if it got into that, I think Chuck Norris maybe would just take it with some power.
I would just assume he's got like a hair of wrestling.
Just a hair. Yeah. But I really think even in that situation, we're talking about Jet Li is like, he's got all these tricks, you know? He's always like just... a foot comes out of nowhere and he's like running up a wall and, you know, hitting you with something new.
It's true. And you know what? You bring up a really good point, but he also has the power of DMX behind him.
He does.
He listens to so much DMX.
Which everyone should know is the easiest, the most hardcore way to start your day if you want like a good, like, oh, I got to do a lot today.
Yeah.
Is put on Rough Riders Anthem, turn on a cold shower, psych yourself up, and then get in there.
That's the only way I know how to do it.
Let your whole building hear you.
Yeah, and if you want to start yelling along with the chorus, stop!
Drop! So that's what I think. Personally, I think Jet Li stop drops opens up shop on Chuck Norris.
I think you have convinced me of the superiority of Sue. Moving on, Sue is our big winner.
Sue versus Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris knocked out in the first round. R.I.P.
Didn't
Chuck
see
Norris.
that one coming. Sorry, Sea-Force Water and Chuck Norris.
There's gonna be upsets.
Who do we have next?
All right, next up, Frank Martin versus Kwai Chang Caine. Of course, Frank Martin is Jason Statham in The Transporter, if you need a reminder. Kwai Chang Caine is David Carradine from Kung Fu The Legend Continues. An older man who seems, I think, proficient in Kung Fu, but kind of a Tai Chi vibe to what he does.
Yeah, very much a Tai Chi vibe, and which is why we seeded him in the 13th seed, and why
Kwai Chang Caine also has a bag on him all the time. He's always walking around with like a hat and this kind of like messenger bag that he's always wearing. Sure. I feel like he's got some mysterious powders and stuff in it.
I was about to say, do you recall what's in that bag?
I want to say some weird powders, but I don't know what. I don't think he uses them like ninja dust. I think they're more like healing powders and teas and things like that.
Well, listen, I don't think, conventional wisdom says.
And if it's David Carradine,
yeah,
not to, I mean, R.I.P., but he's got all kinds of powders in there. You know what I mean?
You know what I mean?
Probably.
Yeah.
Not to besmirch my faves.
Yeah. But I don't think tea leaves and Tai Chi is any match for the Transporter.
Well, I think, and the reason I bring up the bag is I think if you're going to be wearing a bag and sandals when you fight Frank Martin, the Transporter, Jason Statham, I think you're just giving him stuff to use against you.
Oh, yeah. He's one of those guys who will use anything against you.
I mean, we've seen him in the trailer alone. Use a serving platter to deflect a rocket-propelled grenade. I don't think giving him a bag that's halfway wrapped around your neck already is going to do you any favors in a full-on everyday Pojada brawl, you know?
No, not at all, especially when you have the ability to deflect explosives. Projectiles.
This is how I think this goes. Kwai Chang Kang comes out, and Jason Statham's like, oh, I don't, what the fuck?
I'm fighting an old man? What's going on
All right.
here?
And I think he's like, I guess I got to do this. And I think Jason Statham takes like a swing, maybe like a punch and a kick. Kwai Chang Kang goes like, pop, does some Tai Chi shit and kicks him in the gut with his weird, his one front kick that he does.
Yeah.
And Jason Statham's like, whoa, okay.
Oh, we're going.
Oh, fuck this
We're
guy.
going.
Okay, fuck you.
Yeah.
And then he does like some parkour thing like off the wall 2 times.
Yeah.
And like swings around and grabs the bag and turns it into like a hangman choke. And that's it.
I think he taps. I don't think he goes, or does he go to sleep like a man?
No, I didn't mean any of that. I really don't like any of that at all. Oh, wow. I regret this whole avenue I've gone down.
No, this is good.
I
So
did
it's
not-
like he's in
I
a
didn't
closet
connect that
hanging
at all.
by an electrical
no,
cord.
I did not.
No, I see where you're
shit.
going, Jarrett.
I
Sleeper.
really didn't mean to do any of that.
Okay. All right. Little in excess suicide wand, autoerotic asphyxiation by tap out.
Oh, fuck. I didn't.
Technical
I really
knockout.
didn't mean that. That's so fucking gross.
Yeah, I can't believe you did that. But
All right, well, moving on.
we do have a winner. Hang out.
Fuck. Frank Martin,
Frank Martin.
gets the tap. He
Moving
gets the
on
tap.
to the next round.
He gets the tap. Fuck. All right. Raphael of the Ninja Turtles versus Casey Ryback.
Number 5 in Casey Ryback versus number 12 in Raphael.
Which
from
I think
the
are
Ninja
kind
Turtles.
of like those seedings are like a little unnecessarily disparate. I think this is actually like a fucking nutty fight.
I feel like this is a lot closer than the numbers really dictate.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Because let's see, you have Raphael, who's arguably the best fighter of the Ninja Turtles.
I would
Probably
say
the
it's in
toughest,
straight
right?
up hand to hand too, which is what we're going to leave this at. I don't
Right.
think we're going to let Casey Ryback doesn't get his throwing knives and Raphael doesn't get his size.
Right. Yeah. All of that is definitely true.
Yeah, this is some straight up just go ninja, go.
I think there's a couple things working for Raphael's favor. One, definitely his strength. He might. How tall are we saying these Ninja Turtles are in this iteration?
4? Wait, how many movies of the Ninja Turtles?
No.
Wait, what were we
How
saying?
tall?
Oh, I don't know why I said. I've heard how many. I think Ninja Turtles are big.
Yeah.
I think Ninja Turtles are like. I don't know. I'm gonna say like 6 feet.
Okay. So
No, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Ninja Turtles
I
are like
thought that they were-
like stockier. Maybe they're more
I
like
felt like they were taller, if anything. Just 'cause-
really just
yeah.
big, like 7 foot tall.
Yeah, like 7 foot tall.
Let's
fucking
go with
turtles.
that. I mean, if we do that, like Predator size, you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. If we're going that universe, we're saying Predator size Ninja Turtles.
Well, in that case, damn.
I think that's why, Raphael presents a serious challenge to
I would give this to Raphael, honestly.
I would, because, let's think about it. His diet is incredible. Pizza. He's tough as shit. He lives in a fucking sewer.
Yeah,
that sort of mental
living
toughness
hard. Yeah, that's true.
is incredible. And let's think about it.
He's
Casey
got youth
Ryback.
on his side too.
Yeah, he's got
like,
youth too. He's a teenager.
He's an athletic freak and a teenager,
Right.
which is like unbelievable.
Right. And now you look at Casey Ryback. We'll call him arguably a middle-aged man.
Yeah,
Big guy.
a lot of experience.
Lots of experience. Out of shape already.
He's a cook now.
He's a cook. He's getting soft.
He's getting soft.
He's overtasting his food.
Softer by the day.
Yeah.
And while sure, Raphael's eating pizza all the time and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's got the teenager genetics.
Exactly.
He's
Where you can
he's
eat
got
anything.
that crazy metabolism.
Exactly. So I think size, strength advantage,
Yeah.
I think goes to Raphael. I think speed advantage probably goes to Raphael.
I think basically, I think you're talking about. I think if you want to picture Raphael's fighting ability, I think you got to think about like 16-year-old Mike Tyson.
Ooh.
You know what I
just
mean?
an absolute killer.
Yeah, just fucking powerful, but also fast. Plus, you're adding he knows all this ninjutsu and.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And Casey Ryback, he's got a lot of that Aikido stuff. Does he have Aikido at this point in
Casey Ryback?
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Okay,
Tons
so he's
of it.
got some kickboxing, but
I think
mostly Aikido.
he's got a lot of impressive hand-to-hand like weirdness. Yeah.
Yeah, lots of trapping
Yeah.
and weirdness. Yeah.
You know what? I'm flat out just saying I think it's a brawl, but I think Raphael takes this.
I think Raphael definitely takes this, and we're calling it an upset
Oh,
in
yeah.
the first round. Raphael moves on. Casey Ryback See you later.
See ya, dude. I'm sad to say. I mean, I love Casey Ryback.
I was looking forward to some of his one-liners.
If there was like weapons and planning included, maybe I would.
All right, in our next fight, we have the number 2 seed, Frank Dux.
And Indiana Jones.
And number 15 seed, Indiana Jones.
This one's easy for me.
Oh, yeah?
Sad.
All right.
Frank Dux wins for sure. And I'll tell you why. Because Indiana Jones's style is one of kind of getting beaten up and then like winning somehow in a tricky way. And I think as proven, I mean, like, so if Frank Dux was somebody who was like some knockout artist, whatever, maybe there'd be a chance. But Frank Dux is proven in the kumite. He goes kick for kick with the best and baddest kickers. He's got a lot of toughness as well. And I just think his fighting ability beyond outdoes Indiana Jones. And we're not allowing any environmental factors to interfere here. Right, which is another Indiana Jones trademark.
Exactly. He's a great unarmed combatant in the real world because he finds a way, like we saw in the first clip, to arm himself.
Right.
Whether it's the use of a plane propeller
or
anything else within an arm's reach. But if we're just going mano a mano with these guys, it kind of feels like Frank Dux has this pretty wrapped up early on.
I think he just kind of kicks the shit out of
It's kind of a stoppage, a mercy stoppage.
It's a stoppage. Really. Yeah. I don't think Indiana Jones dies in this fight, but I think he's beat up pretty bad.
Exactly.
But it doesn't really take anything away from Indiana Jones. Like that's kind of Indiana Jones's vibe.
That is, and in the real world, against anyone else who isn't Frank Dux or a real fighter, he would be great. But unfortunately, in this tough matchup, he gets to go home.
See you later, Indiana. Dr. Jones.
Who do we have next?
The end of the line for you, Dr. Jones.
Oh, Detective Inspector Lee.
That's right, Jackie Chan in Rush Hour versus
Rocky Balboa. So number 7 versus number 10.
In a lot of ways, very similar to our Sue Chuck Norris fight. You have a fighter who's got a lot of tricks in their bag. I think the difference here is that Detective Inspector Lee, I think, can take more of a beating.
Right. Which is tough to say when you're fighting Rocky, the quintessential guy who can take a beating.
Which makes a really bad matchup for him.
Right.
Because he's got, I think, like, Rocky's definitely got the size and strength and speed and power advantage. He's got a much more limited tool set.
I feel like these guys are roughly the same height.
Yeah, but for the same height, I think pound for pound.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Fucking Balboa's got him beat for sure in terms of like power. Dude, I think this is very much the bare knuckle fighting championship. I think they beat
it goes
each other
5 2-minute rounds.
I think it's bad, and I think the decision goes to Rocky.
Ooh, wow.
That's what I think.
Wow, okay. Well, I'll say this. I think this definitely goes to the judges. And what does it for our winner is the post-fight speech. In my universe, they get to give a post-fight speech where they address the crowd.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, through no fault of his own and a language barrier, Rocky Balboa wins this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm giving it to Rocky. I think I
is
feel
a
pretty solid about that.
Fight.
I'm actually, that makes me sad. Like, I'm very sad that Jackie Chan gets stopped in the first round or a character played by but I think that's just how it's got to go.
Yeah. Moving on to our next round, we have number 3 seed Blade versus number 14 Detective Martin Riggs. Martin Riggs from Lethal Weapon.
Right. Who's a tough fighter also, kind of takes a beating, enjoys fighting a lot.
And he's a little bit crazy.
A little bit crazy.
He's got the crazy thing going.
But I think he's out crazied a little by Blade.
I'd say he's definitely out crazied by Blade.
I think he's kind of like,
we might be projecting a little bit of Wesley Snipes on Blade, but how could you not?
No, how could you not? I mean, like he's the day walker. He's like a man who's committed his whole life just to fighting a secret society of billionaire vampires. You have to be completely fucking crazy.
You have to be insane
that.
To be like, no, this is my life's purpose.
Yeah, and he's got like enough attitude. Like one of the best parts of that movie is when the cops are like shooting at him, like because they think he's the bad guy when he's trying to chase the burnt up Donald Logue vampire.
Yeah.
And he goes like, "You out of your goddamn mind?" Like it's so fucking. He's present. He's not just like delusional crazy as Blade. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that is a kind of crazy that serves you.
Right.
And I think he fucking wrecks Martin Riggs.
Yeah, it's kind of a striker versus grappler classic matchup.
A little bit.
Normally the grappler has some sort of advantage because they can dictate where the fight goes.
Yeah.
Unfortunate for Martin Riggs, I don't see this going his way.
I think Blade's like if anybody from our list is going to have good counter wrestling, good counter grappling. It's the guy who has to deal with people trying to bite him all the time.
Absolutely. I think he sprawl and brawls with Martin Riggs, and it goes his way early and often.
I do too. I think they're bad exchanges for Martin Riggs over and over again.
I'm not saying he dies, but he might die.
If he dies, he dies.
Jarrett Sleeper, everybody. You can charge that to the game right there.
All right, Blade by like hard TKO.
Yeah.
All right, and now our final fight. Speaking of if he dies, he dies.
We have number 6 seed Dalton against number 11 seed Ivan Drago. Jarrett Sleeper, your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts. I mean, my gut reaction for whatever reason is just Dalton. That's just what it is.
Okay, that's fair. You don't have to say much more than that.
I mean, that's my gut reaction. I think it would be insane. I think it would be hard for Dalton. But I just think Dalton's weird ninja quality would... I mean, we're talking about them in their universe as who they are.
Right.
I'm not saying Drago, like... Because it's this other thing, too, this classic, like, martial artist versus sport fighter thing. Like, where you're like, well, I'd gouge your eyes out if I could. It's like, you guys think a boxer can't figure out how to use his fingers at your eyes? Like, you think, like,
yeah.
You know? It's like, I'm not saying, and I mean, Drago probably has some Sambo and some other, like, Russian things in his bag of tricks.
He's got crazy Russian abilities that are uncalculatable.
But I don't think he's particularly creative. And I think that he would come in as a hard, strong favorite, which would give him a weaker mental game.
Sure, and that's saying a lot for a really crazy Russian killing robot.
Yeah, I think one thing that works for Dalton in general is like he's underestimated like crazy.
Yeah.
And he's ultimately confident in his abilities, but doesn't overestimate his abilities. I think he enters every fight very serious and present and ready. And I kind of think what happens is in the first round, when Drago doesn't just totally destroy him, or Dalton keeps getting back up or slipping things more than he thinks he would and comes back out, I think over the rounds, I think Drago, like, the doubt grows in him where he's like, wait, what the fuck is going on? I should be better than this. What the fuck is going on?
This guy is half my size.
Yeah.
Both in height and size.
And yeah, all stature and everything. Like, I think he just kind of Khabibs him. Yeah. I think he sort of like wrestle fucks and does weird like kung fu-y shit.
I think there's some kung fu-y trapping that throws off Ivan Drago where he's like, you can't do this in boxing.
It's sticky, it's weird.
I think he takes his back, and I think in the 5th and final round, I think Dalton chokes him out.
I think that's how this fight goes.
Yeah.
I think Ivan Drago does one thing very well.
What's that?
Just smash. Not like Khabib smash either, but like just go through people with conditioning and power and size and solid fundamentals.
Absolutely.
And I think Dalton's just playing a slightly different game.
He is. You know what his game is? It's peak Machida. Where it's
that's true. I'd see that. Yeah.
Where he's using his ability to be elusive and getting out of the way to his advantage.
Yeah.
And guess what? Like, if you've ever fought somebody like that, it is super tiring and it is mentally frustrating, like nobody's business.
I think Dalton has more discipline in his mind. He's going into this more expecting a crazy fight, and I think he is like an unexpected submission that he gets at the end. Sort of like when you don't think of it, but like Anderson Silva pulls off a triangle against
in the 5th round against Chael Sonnen out of nowhere.
Isn't he a striker? Where you're like, no, he's also a jiu-jitsu black belt, so whatever. Yeah, I think that's what happens.
Look at that. We have a winner.
All right.
We're moving on.
Happy about
that. So
that
completes our first round of the tournament, right? So we are now moving on to the second round where we have some incredible matchups. Let's move our way back to the top. Who do we have?
All right. Moving to our second quarterfinals, I think, right? Yeah, quarterfinals. All right. Back up to the top, Neo and Sue. All right. So
our number 1 seed, Neo, and our number 8 seed, Sue.
Yeah. So how do you think this goes?
I really like Sue. But Neo is Neo.
I mean, we did say that we were going to like lower their supernatural abilities, which
we didn't exactly
we didn't really do in the first round, but I still think the first one goes the same way, even without supernatural abilities of like just dodging around that, around Red Sonja. Because I think if we left supernatural abilities out, we'd have to leave her sword out also.
Sure.
And I think it would go
stretching a point to make a point.
I think Neo still outclasses her. But Second round. We're going to continue with that. We're going to take out like supernatural flying, whatever. So, I mean, I still just give it to Neo.
I would give it to Neo right away.
Technical ability. I mean, I think this is, you're talking like Hickson versus like in his prime. Like, I think he's one of those like legendary expressions of the martial art. You know what I mean?
I think we talk about levels of this game in all aspects of our life. Fighting, business, art.
Yeah.
And there's just endless levels. And unfortunately, I think Sue is just outclassed here, even with his DMX abilities.
I think so too.
Channeling him and elevating him to the next level. Unfortunately, Neo's on a different level.
Just a different level. We talk about like physical capability and technical mastery, and then there's this other thing they talk about, which is, what's the thing in gymnastics?
The intangibles.
They call it when you, I'm gonna lose my mind. I don't know, but it has to do with like how do you express yourself within it.
Artistic expression?
Yeah, no, there's a word. It doesn't fucking matter. It'll come back to me. But I think he's just in like this perfect flow, that like perfect Bruce Lee, be like water state of things. And I think ultimately, he outstrikes Sue in this battle.
Oh, yeah.
And just like, that's it.
He beats him at his own game in this one.
I think
See you later, Sue. Moving on. Neo moving on to the semifinals.
No. Yeah, he's moving on to the semifinals. Yeah, we are not. But yes, we're getting there.
Yes.
Okay, who will face him in the semifinals? Let's find out.
Quarterfinal matchup of number 4 seed Frank Martin from the Transporter and number 12 Raphael from the Ninja Turtles.
Yes.
Jared, your thoughts?
And we've seeded Frank Martin super high in this.
Well, I think part of it is our love of Jason Statham.
I know.
May have clouded our vision.
I think Raphael's going to continue his upset journey here, and I think he just takes everything that Statham can dish out.
Yeah.
And still comes out on top.
I think he uses his shell to protect himself.
Like, you think
when
Philly
we talk
shell.
about the Philly shell, have you not used the Ninja Turtle shell to his advantage? And I think literally he just tires out the Transporter.
I think so too. Which is hard to do. It would take a long time to do that.
It would be, because, I mean, he's done how many movies? many movies.
I think it's a decision, though.
You think it goes the distance?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's probably the way this one goes. I think Raphael definitely proves that he is our Cinderella story so far, and he moves on to the semifinals.
All right.
Moving on. Who do we have?
Frank Dux versus Rocky Balboa. This is actually an exciting matchup.
Ooh, this feels like a matchup as a child and a young teenager.
Oh, yeah.
I would have been like, I can't wait for this movie and this fight.
Yeah.
This would be a canon film classic.
What do you see? What do you think?
So here's the deal. I feel like Rocky Balboa's toughness actually works against him.
Oh, really?
I think it does.
Just taking too many kicks to the head?
Yeah, he's been taking way too many shots early on in the tournament. Has a couple days to recover in this universe. But then he faces Frank Dux, who can also deal with kicks and punches and elbows and all these things that he's already faced in the Kumite. And I think he wins by nut punch.
Yeah, I think this fight is like... You've seen this play out in real life of somebody who's just a boxer versus somebody who's a good kickboxer. Right. And it doesn't matter if they're like super world-class boxer. Your tool set just it's
incomplete.
You're going to get taken apart. It just happens.
Yeah. He might take some pity on him and only beat the crap out of his front leg for a little while before really going to town and going for the nuts.
But that's a wrap. That's it. Frank Dux moves on for sure.
Yep.
All right, dude. Blade versus Dalton is our final. This is
a tough one.
Brutal, man. This is like a hard one for the fans. This is a beautiful fight for sure.
This is a tough fight. Two fan favorites. When in doubt, I always say Dalton. But
I agree.
I agree. Dalton. That's kind of my life philosophy.
Yes, I want Dalton to win this. I want it very badly. I want Dalton to win this. I want to see him win everything.
Do I think he's going to win? The answer is no.
I think it's just no. I think it's just no across the board. I think he gets picked apart and he gets TKO'd. I think it's one of those things of like exchanges, and then you see that one where he gets wobbled and I think
he gets wobbled and I think he gets desperate and he shoots for the takedown and he gets blasted on the way
Just
in.
eats a hard knee on the way in. I see that very much. I think that's how this goes. I think Blade takes Dalton
by a second round TKO.
Yeah, second round sounds right to me.
Yep. Moving on.
All right.
We now have our semifinalists. We have Neo versus Raphael, and we have Frank Dux against Blade. Let's start with Neo and Raphael, our number one seed in our Cinderella story in Raphael. Jarrett.
Man, this one's tough.
Yeah.
I really think this one's tough because I think Raphael's physical abilities, create a lot of problems for Neo.
Yeah.
I really do. I don't know. I think barring his supernatural abilities of like whatever, I think just technical, I think there's like so many weird problems that this like turtle presents.
Oh, sure.
Even if we take away the supernatural, if we gave him like a human equivalent, again, I think you're talking about like who would be, again, I think Raphael's very much like Tyson-esque, young Tyson-esque.
Sure.
Versus like in demeanor too, in like, you know, that a rage that seems to be in his like movement.
Right.
Versus like who would Neo be? Neo would be like maybe Conor McGregor without the cockiness, like a Machida again, or something like a sort of just a solid but like high level.
Well, I would say I would argue peak Anderson Silva.
Yeah, sure. I'll give that.
Yeah.
And I think that fight, Tyson Anderson Silva, is like a young, like the best version of Tyson. I kind of give that to Tyson. I feel like, yeah, I kind of think Raphael like gets in the pocket and like does work in this that really surprises me.
Raphael, it wouldn't surprise me if he is a straight ahead fighter. He's willing to stand in the pocket and take any and all punishment because he has a shell.
Yeah, but I also think he's like not taking as much punishment as you think. I think he's bobbing and weaving around and moving so violently, and every time he's moving, he's like digging to the body and coming up, standing up under your chin. I think he like fucking takes it.
I think he takes him in the first round. Like it's bad. It's Tyson.
Really?
It's early Tyson-esque. To me, it feels like sub 30 seconds.
All right, man.
Round.
Wow, Cinderella story about Raphael. I guess we are in concurrence. Neo goes down in the semifinals. Damn. So Raphael's in our finals right now.
Right, and Neo moves on to our consolation bracket for the bronze match. That means number 2 seed Frank Dux against number 3 in the form of Blade.
Yeah.
Who moves on to the finals?
This one's tough. This one's like straight up kickboxer versus kickboxer. My instinct is in this forum, no guns, no swords, like, you know.
Yeah.
I think Frank Dux's like kumite style, I think takes this.
I think if there's one advantage he has, it's his age and experience. And
Frank Dux is.
Frank Dux.
Yeah.
Because he's been to the kumite, he knows what it's like to fight under this rule set.
Yeah.
And it's not like the rule set is crazy or out of this world.
No.
It's straight ahead. But unless you've been under the lights and in front of the fans, like Frank Dux has, I think he takes it as well.
All right, we're giving it to him. That's it. Sorry, Blade gets knocked out too. So 2 strong favorites, although Frank Dux was seeded too, so he's gotten pretty far as expected. But we do have a pretty wild final here of Raphael,
our
the Cinderella story, baby,
Raphael
versus Frank Dux. Should we do the third place match
Let's
first?
do the bronze medal match first.
Neo versus Blade.
Neo versus Blade. Neo versus Blade. My initial instinct tells me Blade.
Really? My initial instinct says Neo.
Convince me.
I don't know. I just see maybe he's like refocused after his loss or something like that, and he doesn't take for granted his abilities or something, and he really like straightens up. And I don't think Blade is used to fighting other people near or around his level. I think he's mostly like kicking the crap out of like Eurotrash vampires who like are too reliant on their size and strength. Not size, but their strength and speed and power, like supernatural, whatever.
Right.
But don't really have fighting abilities. And up against another like sheerly talented fighter. Like, you know the part in The Princess Bride where Andre the Giant's fighting and he starts like getting choked out by the Dread Pirate Roberts?
Yeah.
And he's just talking about like how he's fought groups for so long, like groups of people, that you forget what it's like to fight one person and you just a different skill set. That's what I think. I think that's how this goes. I think Neo's surprised by his loss and needs to like refocus, but he doesn't come out like extra fiery. I think he just centers and gets quieter and more like focused, versus Blade, I think, might actually come out a little bit too hot-headed. And
I was thinking Blade's ability to bounce back after his loss would be the fire that got lit inside him might propel him. However, you do bring up a really good point about him basically fighting a bunch of tomato cans
right
in his universe, and that when he's finally confronted by a true martial artist.
Yeah, I mean, like, Neo also fights big groups, but they're like agents. They're like people who individually are hard to fight, and we've seen him fight individually a lot against high-level opponents.
Right.
Blade, not so much.
No.
So that's why I think Neo, for me...
How do you see this fight ending? You've convinced me that Neo wins this fight.
I think it's a very karate-esque, like Wonder Boy knockout. Like, not being knocked out, which we've seen recently. But like, I think it's a very like good distance management, finds one opening, or even like Khabib's knockdown of Conor in the last one. One of those, like, there's an opening and he's faster than you expect him to be, and he's just on it, and it's like bop right on the chin, catches him. Or like that Genki pseudo style, like, and he's already bowing to your totally slept form, you know? I think Blade also is completely slept, but like totally off guard, and afterwards like what round is it? Like,
he's like, when do we start the fight?
Yeah.
When do we start the fight?
Very like, through no fault of his own, just like, what? Oh man, dang.
What happened?
Yeah.
Oh dang. That's great. Well,
because to me, that's like that one of those puncher chance things too. I think when that happens to you, it's not like you've been totally outclassed. I'm not talking Forrest Griffin versus Anderson Silva, where it's just like toying with him and then he catches him on a jab on the way. I think it's one of those like back and forth, and then ultimately it's good distance management and an explosive pop on the chin. That's it.
Ooh, that is a great fight. Neo taking our bronze match and our bronze medal in this incredible bracket. That only leaves two fighters left.
In our finals.
Our finals of
all right,
Raphael, our Cinderella story, and Frank Dux.
Yeah.
Number 2 seed, going all the way to the finals, almost as predicted. As we seeded them.
Yeah. What do we think?
Let's see here. Frank Dux, what does he bring? He brings experience, technical ability.
This is a good fight. I mean, it's a good balance of emotionality and discipline.
Right. He brings that experience in the ring that we've been looking for and that we valued.
Yeah.
But we have our Tyson-esque quality.
Yeah, we're giving him that, like, that young Tyson thing, and Raphael is like,
right.
What do we think? I don't know.
Here's my thought. Frank Dux survives the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Very barely. Because Raphael comes out hot, works the body.
Yeah.
Works the body like nobody's business. Sets him up, even lands a clean shot.
I mean,
up
but
top.
Just keep aware, though, we're also... He's still got his ninja abilities. He still can, like, move, backflips and shit like that. He can kick. We're just adding that to a Tyson-esque quality of power and athleticism and striking ability. Striking just power.
Right. I feel like he comes in super hot in the first round.
Yeah.
He may have put his foot on the gas a little too much, especially with a physique like his.
Yeah.
That's a lot of blood pumping through your body.
Sure.
And I'm assuming he's not on EPO, and he gets tired.
Yeah. He is on
his heart
has
to support that entire system, right?
Yeah, his turtle heart,
Yeah. And so I don't think he can keep up. Round 2 starts.
Really?
Frank Dux.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Comes out and
know.
starts going to town. Jared, what are your thoughts?
Man, I think they're just destroying each other. And I don't know. I kind of feel like ultimately Raphael chops him down. I think it just ultimately leg kicks. I honestly think like a lot of leg kicks start to really slow down Frank Dux, and it turns into just one of those like very surprising. I think they're both really beat up, but I just think Raphael could take more damage. And
given the fact that he's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
And I think it's just on that. Taking more. I don't think either of them are getting flash knocked out in this. I think this is going to be like an endurance, taking a fucking beating fight.
You think this goes the distance?
I think so. And maybe it's like even like a split decision that goes to Raphael.
Wow.
I know. But we can like, I mean, what do we do? How do we figure this out if we're in disagreement?
We talk it out. Like, what do you think Frank Dux is just not prepared for leg kicks? Like, he's too much of a classic kickboxer and not accustomed to having his legs chopped out?
I don't think he's not prepared. I just think it's a matter of two very good. I think it's like one of those things that people are like, I never considered tapping the kicks until I took a leg kick from Raphael. And then I was like, oh my God.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Sort of a Henan Barrow sort of thing.
And I think I could see him pulling off a ninja kick in this fight too. One of those like off the cage, weird clips you kind of things. Like
like a Showtime kick? Okay. Yeah, I could definitely see that.
And I think like in one of the rounds that happens and that sort of like rattles Frank Dux a little bit. So maybe that cuts down his movement. Plus he's just getting like slowed down and chopped up from these like, I just think too much trauma over this fight.
Sure. I think the other part too that we've sort of been neglecting is the ground fighting.
Yeah, I don't see either of these two going to the ground though. No. I see like if they do, I don't think either of them has the ability to like fully overpower the other one.
Sure.
And if anyone has a little bit more, it would be Raphael with his like ninja stuff.
I think he gets a takedown just to fuck with Frank Dux and be like,
just a rest maybe for a little bit, you know?
Exactly.
So he'd be up on points for that.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
All right. Well, you've convinced me.
Oh, we found a winner.
For the sake of moving the fuck on, we have a winner in Raphael.
Yeah. All right. Well, fucking we've done it. There you have it. First place, Raphael. Second place, Frank Dux. Third place, Neo.
In the winner of, what are we calling this? Martial Madness?
Martial Madness. I don't know. I think this is a successful fucking foray into brackets.
Absolutely.
I think brackets would just be good. I just think we did it for like, it doesn't matter what it is and just did this stupid arguments between like until you reach a consensus about like, okay. And figure out what the best is.
Yeah. And every time we would have to play that horrible song, One Shining Moment, at the end of the tournament.
Yeah. I think the best way to do it would be a third person so you have a tiebreaker.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they would only be here as a tiebreaker.
Right.
Like, I don't think they'd weigh in. I don't think it'd be like two versus one.
It's like advantages in jiu-jitsu tournaments where it's like, oh, the score's tied, you had more advantages.
Yeah, then we get a tiebreaker. Yeah. But otherwise, it's still between just two people trying to reach consensus.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for supporting this two-part journey. Bracketology of insanity. Hey, Jarrett, how can people follow the podcast?
You can follow us at FightStuff Podcast on Instagram. You can write us at FightStuffPodcast@gmail.com, which, you know, if you want to send us ideas for fights or anything like that, please do.
And you can find me on the internet on Instagram at Zeke Thomas is rad or ZekeThomas.com. Officially, I'm on Twitter, but I don't respond to you.
Yeah, I use my Twitter
Jared
a little
Sleeper,
bit.
How can people find you on the internet?
You can just Google Jared Sleeper. You'll find me probably. Instagram, I'm Jared Sleeper Poetry and Motion because I'm just using it for that these days, except for my secret accounts, which nobody knows about.
You got Finstas?
I started one.
What?
For weird projects that I want to do, but I won't say the name of it yet.
Wow, I don't even know about this.
I know. I'll tell you about it.
Learn some new shit. This has been another episode of the Fight Stuff Podcast. Theoretically, we'll return to a normal format next week. We'll see what happens.
Later.
Fight Stuff is executive produced, edited, and hosted by Jarrett Sleeper and me, Zeke Rodrigues Thomas, for Mind Jam Media. Our awesome theme song is by Jason Scardamalia. See you next week, fight fans. All right, guys. Apologies for the delay in getting out this week's pod, as we were on a job that took way longer than we originally anticipated, but super excited to see the product when it finally launches. Right now, we're doing this because we love it and we enjoy fight sports and we talk about it anyways. But unfortunately, we had bills to pay, so the pod got pushed back just a little bit. And again, if you like what you hear, please share and let other people know. Thank you and good day.